Welcome back everyone, Silver Stallion here. As always, thank you all for joining me. Today we have a special video, a special guest. As you can see sitting in front of me, I like to call him Captain America. This is the president of ICG, Austin Hutto. He is the president and the finalizer. And so Austin, thank you so much for joining me.
Glad to be here, man.
It is an honor. I've never had a president of any kind in my home, so thank you. So I figured, we'd start off with just some of the basic, easy questions. What got you into the coin industry?
Oh.
How did you get started?
That's a fun story. I needed a summer job. Growing up here in Orlando, it was '08, around crash, like market crash time. Everything was it was tough to find a job, especially for a kid in high school that needed to pay for insurance and gas. And basically, I was working a warehouse job, working stables, stacking hay bales, all that stuff. And a lot of places went out of business, didn't need the extra help. And at the time, through high school, I dated the same girl, amazing, wonderful girl, and her dad owned NFC coins here in Orlando. And he said, "Hey, I've got all these bags of wheat pennies." And I don't know if you know this. Do you know how many pennies come to a bag?
No.
50,000.
Oh my God.
And they were, from floor to ceiling. Like it was my entire summer. And he's like, "I'll pay you $6 an hour if you come do this." And as a 16-year-old, I was like, hell yeah, I'll do whatever. That sounds like all the money in the world for me. And I remember doing them, and I just would have these solo cups in front of me, and I'd have a bag kind of pouring out off to the side, and it would be, what was it, 10s, teens, 20s and 30s, 40s, it was 10s, teens, 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, S-mints, steel cents, and reds. And I thought after like a week, I was like, I see that red cup was empty. And I'm like, what does he mean by red? And I found like a pile in a bag that was all corroded and had this bright red sort of, like almost this color here on them. And I was like, oh, these must be what he's talking about for reds. And I put them in the bucket and brought it over to him. I was like, look, I found some reds for you. And they started dying laughing. And that was my introduction into what specifics of what they're looking for on coins went to. Because I wasn't sorting for grade. It was just putting them in these piles. And once he did that, I just was kind of hooked. And I liked the job. I liked the people. It was indoors, which was great in Florida. So I just kept it. And that's sort of how it all started. I mean, that's the basis of it. And then it sort of went from there.
Very nice. So how did the grading come into after, kind of that experience?
Well, so what you realize in grading, and the hard part for the average collector to understand is, number one, it's either, and not just like the talent or the aspect of actually putting a number to a coin, because I think most people in the industry think they can sit down and grade. But the reason I say to people it's either you can or you can't is because there's the dark room aspect. Like there is the no windows, no lights, no nothing, 10 hours a day. You have, for me, I use 100-watt soft light bulb. Most people use 75s, but basically it was it was a late night. It was after the fun show. I must have been 16, and everybody was just jazzed up from the show. We were still at the office late night, and Tim and Matt were sitting at their desks, and I was told that I could pull up a chair and join them. And they started throwing me cents and libs, and they had like rolls and rolls and rolls of them. They just started asking me to throw numbers on them, and I could see Matt, who is Tim's kind of number two and definitely runs the big bulk of NFC now. He just had this look on his face, and he kept throwing me coins and throwing me coins. And finally, a week later, I see this sheet, this printout on my desk for the summer seminar to get a scholarship to go, because the summer seminar is a teaching course in Colorado Springs every year for 2 weeks. It's really great. You can take a beginner, intermediate, advanced. You can take counterfeit detection, tokens classes, like really sink your teeth into grading. You stay on campus. It's this college up there. And he says, "Hey, I think you might actually be able to do this. I don't know, but not everybody can just sit down and grade coins. So why don't you go take this?" And I got the scholarship and took the intermediate course with a guy named Don Bonzer, Mary Sylvain, and Bill FIFA. And I was kind of top of the class, and Don, who I've known, he's actually local here to Florida too, went and basically told this is where this gets fun. The advanced course was being taught by Miles Standish and Rick Montgomery, who are the presidents of, at the time, ICGS and NGC.
Oh,
and
awesome.
they were best friends. I mean, they still to this day would say that they're friends. and they decided to come together as like a super teaching duo. Awesome. And Rick is not the type to poke his head out of the grade. So this was actually even more rare. This is big time and place for me. Don had gone over to Rick and I guess had bragged about, or had said something kind about me being in there and how well I was doing. And Rick,
you were how old at this point?
16, 17.
Oh.
I must have been 17. Yeah, just turned 17. Yeah, because it was in the summer. And Rick came up and handed me his business card. Said, "I want you to come out and test grade. We'd be interested in meeting you." I didn't know what that meant. I didn't even really kind of know what this was. This is all luck. This entire story is luck, right place and right time. Well, Miles, his ego, and he has to get the best. He has to beat everybody. He had to always have the upper hand. So he sees this and he rocks up and he goes, "I think you're going to want to come to the #1 grading service." And you know, it was actually charming. And he handed me his card as well. And I reached out to both of them about a week or two afterwards. Went to NGC first, test graded for a full week, and I was offered a job, sort of to come into the modern table, and it was, I think, $35,000. And
nice. At 17?
At 17, and I called and said thank you, but I would wait to make a decision because I still had to go to PC. And to NGC's credit, they said go. Enjoy yourself, really learn a lot, but give us a call after you get back, which I did, and they bumped it to 50.
Oh my gosh.
And for me, as a kid growing up in Orlando, huge family, they're over in Sarasota area. I was like, I wasn't 18 yet. So I'm like, well, kind of want to be close to home. California's a little scary, so let's
Were you thinking career at this time, or were you just like
no? And in fact, I was
still
applying to colleges. Like I was a senior in high school doing all this, so I'm still doing the normal like kind of zombie going through the motions of applying to colleges, getting rejection letters back in the mail, and just kind of figuring out what my next step was. But my brother had taken the summer session at UF, and I'd gone up there, and he was in a fraternity at this time, and basically word had gotten around. I was tired, and one of his friends who'd known me for a minute came up and he goes, "You look exhausted." I was like, I was sitting in this dark room it was weird, and even at this time I still didn't quite know what I was doing. And he goes, "Wait, hold on, they offered you what?" And I tell him, and he goes, "Buddy, we're coming back and so this must be 09 now. We're coming back for our 5th and 6th year, not because we're pre-med or pre-law. There are no jobs." So I thought, well, let me take this job and I can always go back to school. I'm still young. I can always revisit college. And that's how it sort of turned to, that's when I started thinking job, not career. It wasn't until probably almost a year to the day, because right when I started, Silver Eagle season happened at NGC, and it was trial by fire. It was, you do 6 boxes a day, 3,000 coins minimum. Monday through Sunday, or Sunday through Monday.
3,000 coins a day or for the week?
For a day of just Silver Eagles, nothing else. One monster box, you pop the tabs, pull it open, bust the tubes, open it up, and you'd have a 69 tray and a 70 tray, and you just sort. And you'd stack them to the ceiling, and then they'd go into production and come through, and then you'd have to QC them in the holders afterwards. From January 8th until almost the first week of March. It was a lot of work, and it was the entire room. There was nobody that was left to any exemption. Everybody got a box on their desk. And that was a lot. And that was the first time I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. But right around when I'm thinking that, I come into the office the next day, and there's no big green box. There's a black double row box next to me, and it was a Min 64 Walker deal. And that was like the most breath of fresh air I'd had yet. And I did well, and they kept feeding me stuff. Next thing you know, I get promoted to the vintage table right next to Mark Salzberg, the founder, owner, all that. And he took a liking to me. And because I've always been the youngest everywhere I've gone, always. From when I started there at 18 years old, I think I was only the youngest by 7 years or so there as far as the modern table goes, but as far as the vintage guys, I was almost 15 to 20 years younger.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and it's always been that way. And so I go sit next to Mark. He takes a liking to me, really teaches me a lot. A lot of, what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on, man. Like, look at that again. But that was how he taught.
Yeah, for sure.
And that pressure, it was perfect. It was exactly what, coming from a sports background too. Like, I needed that. And then this is a funny story. So I get a call from PC. I'm 23, and 23-year-old gym rat in Florida, single, California comes calling. They said, can you come out for a couple days? We're looking to fill a grading position, and we think you'd be right. And we had gone back and forth a few times here and there, and nothing had manifested or worked itself out. And my contract was up at N. They weren't meeting me where I needed to be at the time. And when California comes calling, you go and check it out. And I end up accepting the offer, and you'll hear this throughout, is like, I had to do it the right way, where I gave, because graders don't just grow on trees. We don't. Like, there's only, I want to say 20, it might be less than that, but there's only 20 of us in the world for a reason. It's not easy to just
It's
go.
that rare, really?
Yeah, I mean, between the majors, I mean, you got to imagine at NGC, there's probably 5 or 6 like true vintage guys. There's a modern table. I don't know how beefed out that is these days. I'm sure it is, but vintage guys, there's probably 5 or 6. At PC, there's probably about the same, maybe 10, upwards of 10 people between the world and US. And at ICG, there's 5 of us. So, I mean, you start, and at Annex, there's a couple. I just was there for a short stint to check them out in the process of transferring over. And at CAC, I know there's probably about a similar number system. So it just really, it's all very small. It's very tight knit.
Right. I would have never thought it was that small, though.
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. There's only so many people that can, and it really just comes down to can you sit in a dark room and just really do it? But I go out to P. I love it, especially California at 23. It sounds awesome. And what you don't realize is, you're like, look at all this extra money they're paying me. Forget about California taxes and
The living expenses. That's funny.
But I didn't care, and ultimately ended up taking the job out there. Little side note, funny story. I was going to put in my 2 weeks the following Monday and make sure that they knew I would stay. I think it was like the night. It must have been a Saturday or Sunday night before, and I was sort of seeing this girl off and on, but she was from California and helping me with neighborhoods. And I was looking up houses on Zillow on my phone. And her name happened to be like right under or above Salzburg's, Mark, the owner. And I meant to send her a link to a house, saying like, what's this neighborhood like out there for me to live at? And I'd copy and pasted that to him. And the text I got back was, looks like we need to talk on Monday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like, oh no. And yeah, it was and this is before, now you can unsend a text.
Well, everything happens for a reason. So.
Yeah, so we had a talk, and they understood, and thankfully there was no, like, I had a non-compete and everything that they let me out of, and they were really great, and they saw, they were like, he's 23, he wants to go live in California, let him go.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, and then, do that for 10 years grading there, and especially the last 3 years, really sinking my teeth into my role at P. More people asking you questions, new kids coming in, that next wave of graders, but I just kept looking around going, they're going to be okay. I don't need to be here in California. I was waiting on a contract, a few people were at the time, and I have a 4-year-old, and I'm a single dad, and there's no yard, I just needed space to grow. And so I started poking around and looking at other places, and I will admit I did not have ICG really on my radar. I'd gone to Annex to check out their facility. I was in talks with CAC off and on, nothing too serious, but talking with them a bit, and was still in talks with PC about extending and trying to work something out on that end. And out of nowhere, this ICG thing came across, and all the other places were just grading jobs, good money, good life. But Mark, the owner of ICG, came to me and said, I want to turn this into something. It's been this mom and pop operation forever. There's been no structure. There's been no pointing the ship, really. And if I'm going to do it, I want to do it now, because he was done being involved. He wanted somebody else to come in and really push it. And he, to his credit, said, I'm going to give you the keys to the castle. Do with it what you want. Just try your hardest.
That's awesome.
And
how did he find you?
Well, I mean, we had been in the coin market, especially at that level. You sort of know people, you cross paths and stuff. And I did reach out to Steven, his son, who works with him and does a bunch of different things there. And he's really great, easy to talk to, and he's my age. And for me in this industry, it was like, that's cool. Like, this guy's 27, you're 26, 27. It'd be great to work with people close to my age. And I really am more lax and more, like, even for this, like showing up, you sit there and you go through your closet and you go, yeah, there's this polo, there's this button up. It's like, I gotta be me. And you just pull the black t-shirt and throw it on. And that's kind of what he was offering. So he says, why don't you, we said, you know what, I don't think there's any interest. We loved talking to each other, Mark and I, when we did finally get on the phone, and, ICG, like, I don't know, So it was sort of this thing of like, oh, it was good connecting. Maybe we'll work something out down the road, which is most of my conversations, and something sometimes does happen. This, I was just like, it's good to meet people. Well, I'd gone back, and I was at my house in Oklahoma at this time with my son. Gone back out to PC in California. It was like the Friday, and I woke up to a missed call, and it was Mark. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this is, and call him back right before I'm heading into work, and he says, you know what would you think about coming out for a day and just let's meet? He's like, I think there's no downside. And for me, I was like, I haven't been home in a while, so if anything, I'll go see the family on somebody else's dime. Go out here and immediately pull up to the building, beautiful building, not what I expected, and go in. Their entire staff for ICG, as far as upstairs, met me, sat with me. We talked for a couple hours. I went up, I graded 10 coins, just 10. He goes, well, you know what you're doing. That was the end of it. And we went back downstairs, sat down on these lovely couches, talked for another hour or two. And at the end of it, he, right there in front of me, made me an offer. Awesome. Made me this offer of, take it, you can have it, do with it what you want, it's yours. The success or failure really does at this point rest with you, and I'll help where I can. But he wanted to take a big step back and let people think that it was Austin's like company and all this stuff. And fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people do think it is not my company. It's not mine. I wish it was now, but at the time it was like, get home to Florida, closer to the family. Yeah. I've got nieces and nephews. My son has this yard and he loves that he has stairs in his house now and all this. So it was kind of that perfect thing. I didn't need the ego of PCGS anymore, NGC anymore. I'd gone and done that. I'd had my successes. I'd had my mistakes. I'd grown up doing this. So even though I'm 33, I've been doing this for 16 years. Right. So I'm at that age where it's time to put my foot down and make my mark, sort of thing. And that's how this came about.
And that kind of leads me into my next question. So we obviously know you have a lot of experience in coin grading, why they selected you for that. What experiences do you think prepared you to be a president of a company?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think, no, genuinely. I think I work really hard. I'll be honest, maybe a little bit of a caveat here, not a caveat, but a moment of genuine and personal honesty of, I'd had like personal in grading, and when I started, I was 17, and I was 16 when I started working in this industry. I have quite literally grown up in this. So this magnifying glass on me has been there since I started. So I've grown up in doing this. So the world has gotten to see our world, has gotten to see my successes, my mistakes, the whole thing, and dealing with that and making, as far to the finish line of bad, no turnaround mistakes go. I joked with you about like the Budweiser zeros.
Yeah.
So like the stresses get on you, and at a young age, you don't know what to do. And unfortunately, I went towards, drinking every night. And what prepared me to make good decision was coming out of that, stopping that, looking at my family, my son, his mom, and even her husband, who I love. It's like you look at everything you have in your life and you go, well, I know how to make decisions. Let's just see if I can make right ones. And as you start going towards, well, I'm going to take on this ICG thing and do it in the sense of, I just want to do right by the collector, the person who this coin's going to ultimately end up with. That does mean I have to work with big dealers. That does mean I have to work programs and all that. But if I put the finish line of the coin in the front of my mind, I can probably only make at least the right decision or with the right intention. That's all I'm trying to do. I've already made a couple mistakes here and there. It's not my last, it's not my first. And anybody in any high position at a grading service that says they've got it down pat is lying.
Right, for sure.
Because if I would have known how much work it was, I wouldn't have taken it. I wouldn't have taken this job. I'm glad I have it now, but even though it's been only 4 months, I mean, it's been insane. And the things that you have to, especially in growing, like we've gone from 7 employees total to now upwards of 30, 40 employees total.
In 4 months?
In 4 months. Wow. And we've gone from 300 coins a day out the door on a great, like a kick-ass day to, man, we really need to be hitting 5,000 and we just don't have enough hands. Right. But we've got the coins for it. And it's just been this push. And yeah, of course, bringing my name along, and even people that may not have known me going, well, okay, his pedigree is there, so let's see turnaround times, getting coins back faster than everybody else so that people can enjoy them quicker. Because I don't know about you, I collect sneakers, and when they're in the mail, there is nothing worse than watching that tracking thing and getting stuck somewhere. So that was another part. And then also just telling people like, hey, ICG, we're faster, we're cheaper, but you get the PCGS grade, because that's the line I brought with me. And people really like that a lot. And they've been able to sell them better. They've been able to, I've even had people admit that they would start sending me stuff to just cross over. But when they saw the grades and the coins, they just were like, well, I'll let it sit for a minute. And then the next submission comes back, and now they have an ICG collection out of nowhere that they're happy with.
And what is the turnaround time for ICG?
Well, right now for like economy, I think at the most it's ever going to be is 2 weeks, but we always, now with the hurricane that just came, we're behind for the first time ever, actually. But it's a good thing, because that means the coins are there and nobody's called, everybody, we posted on the social medias, we did the right thing. And that's the fun part, because if this was P or N, I feel for them, because it doesn't matter what happens in the world. They get just slammed with negative press. Whereas for me, people are like, hey, we understand. We see what you're trying to do. You're doing this, that, and the other thing. We're proud of you. Just, take your time, but you just stay up till, stay at the office till midnight, 1 o'clock, getting it done. But it's about, anywhere between 12 and 14 days for just economy, and here I'll run the same program where I'm going to offer anybody watching this $10 to grade coins. So. But it really is just whatever it says is your due date is when that box will ship, unless there's some outstanding circumstance, like something I have to research a little bit, or there's a few things, but you get a phone call letting you know why. And then for any bulk and stuff, it's all pretty much, we try and do it within the same week if we can. Like if your coin shows up on Friday, we're going to try and get it out to you by the following Friday. That's a lot to people. That's huge.
So I should have done this earlier, and I do apologize.
No, hit me.
So we're going to be doing some giveaways during this recording here. So I just wanted to explain the rules really quick and show what we're going to be giving out.
Can I see this one here?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's the edge thing. I just found out we had these too. This is how much you don't know, like how many. No, really, I saw a box of these and I was like, why do we not use, why do we have these? And they said, so you can see the edge because the mint mark's over there. These are cool.
So the way that the giveaway is going to work, so in the middle of you answering questions, I'm going to ask you some personal questions about your favorite things. And then there's going to be specific rules, so you guys have to stick around for the whole video. There's going to be specific hashtags that you have to put in to be able to qualify. And so, as an example, and let me just show the giveaways really quick. So this is going to be one of them, 2007 Jefferson ICG PR70. It is the first day of issue. We have what I like to call the bad prizes, which is some copper rounds. They're kind of dirty, kind of tarnished.
But we grade copper rounds.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, we do.
And then we got 2 of the nice copper rounds. Let me see if I can focus that up there. The nicer copper rounds. We got 2 of those. And then Austin did bring a beautiful Libertad. We're going to do that as well.
Sample slab.
With the sample slab.
Yeah.
So those are going to be all the giveaways. And so, for the first question that I have for you here, Austin, so the way it works is I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite XYZ? And your job is not to give the specific answer, but to give a description. And then the first person focus you up there. The first person who's able to guess down in the comments with the correct hashtag is gonna be the one that takes home the prize.
I dig that.
And also, you guys are not gonna know which prize you're getting either, because at the end, Austin is gonna randomly put some symbols next to the questions, and that's gonna determine the prize. So, question number 1, for this answer, you guys have to put hashtag movie with your guess. What is your favorite movie?
I just want to sing the song. Favorite all-time movie?
Yeah, and you have to give a description, not the answer.
All